A reminder that the recall election in California is September 14th, although this is the last week where candidates can declare for the race.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
He is a 29-year-old Democrat challenging Governor Newsom in the recall election. Meet Kevin Paffrath. He's a Southern California real estate investor who is followed by millions on YouTube, other social media platforms as well. He's just completed 9 rallies in 10 days across the state, including that one. And now the campaign brings him here to our studio, our first in-studio guest in a long time. Kevin Paffrath, welcome. Nice to have you here.
Alex, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited for common sense solutions. I know you mentioned that I'm a Democrat. That is true, but I bring common sense back to California. I'm tired of identity politics. Let's solve it.
I feel like I should be waiting for a Zoom delay, but I don't have to do that anymore, so I don't know what that's like. All right, so for a lot of folks that know you in social media, you're a big star there. There's a lot of folks that are watching this that probably have not heard of you before. So tell us a little bit about your backstory. You came here 19 years old.
Absolutely. So I came to California, met my wife in Paris, moved to California, and California gave me some incredible opportunities. Unfortunately, I feel like I was the exception. I went to a community college, then went to UCLA, graduated with a background in economics and political science, became a real estate broker, and educated folks on how to invest in real estate. Unfortunately, I, again, feel like the exception. We got to make better education the norm. And
you became this big deal on YouTube, teaching people about real estate, teaching people about finance and other things, cryptocurrency, other things as well, currently. And you are a Democrat running against Governor Newsom. Most of the high-profile Democrats are not. Why do you consider yourself a Democrat? And why, if you consider yourself a Democrat, are you running against the Democratic standard bearer?
Absolutely. So first of all, I'm running against Gavin Newsom because I believe that it's his leadership and his policies that have broken the state. It's not the party, it's not the people, it's not Republicans. We have Californian issues in the state: traffic, crime, homelessness, lawlessness. Consider just this. Gavin Newsom said he was going to prevent forest fires. He overstated his efforts by 690%. NPR exposed him on that. We have 80% of cannabis sales in the state 5 years after cannabis is legalized. 80% is done illegally. We are going $12 billion into more debt. We don't have a surplus in California. We're going into more debt. SB 7 is a great way to funnel more money through Governor Newsom's office, not making housing more efficient. Well, that's what's broken.
Well, we do have a surplus in this state. I mean, that's why they're giving all this money back, right?
That's my point, is after he's giving money away for giving traffic tickets, we're going $12 billion more into debt. So we don't have the surplus to solve the real problems that we have, like our water crisis, which we could have solved with that surplus. We could have used that money, built an aqueduct to Mississippi, gotten fresh, clean water, cheaper than we have it now, and we could have ended our water crisis so our farms in the San Joaquin Valley, where I just was, wouldn't be brown and drying out anymore.
A part of the challenge, though, is by legislature, by statute, they do have to give some of the money back when you get a surplus that's big enough. But let's talk about homelessness, which is your #1 issue, the #1 issue for so many people on the states. Your governor tomorrow, what's different on homelessness?
Day one, I'm signing 4 executive actions. #1 is ending homelessness on our streets within 60 days. We're not going to cure homelessness in 60 days, but nobody will be living on our streets anymore because they're not living on our streets, they're dying on our streets. After 60 days, no more homeless on our streets. How do we solve that? With 80 emergency facilities throughout the state of California, each housing about 2,000 homeless individuals. Now we can centralize support, mental health support, detox support, substance abuse support. We can finally provide food and safety and security, something Californians don't have right now, and that's why people are leaving the state. We've got to stop Californians from leaving the state. I want to grow this economy.
But how do you do that? So say a homeless person, and they're trying to remove them from the streets in Venice right now, and we talked to many of them today, and they said, I don't want to go.
Absolutely.
What do you do in that scenario?
Yeah, so here's the thing. Nobody trusts the government right now because the government has fragmented policy responses. We're going to take our first 30 days, provide service to homeless individuals where they are, knowing that community leaders control homelessness. When we build our emergency facilities with homeless leaders, mayors of blocks and presidents of streets, then we can convince 90 to 95% of our homeless population, we believe, to come to our emergency facilities. These are not lockdown facilities, they're optional. They want to take a bagel and leave, that's fine. But guess what? After 60 days of my governorship, nobody sleeps on the floor or streets of California anymore. That ends in 60 days.
But you don't think that there are community leaders working on that problem now?
There are, but here's what's happening. You've got people in LA handing out cell phones to homeless folks. You've got people in San Francisco. The city of San Francisco is spending $5,000 per tent per homeless person. That's 60 grand a year. We have fragmented responses. There's a reason the mayor of LA and the sheriff of LA tweet storm each other because they can't even figure it out. You need a real leader. And it's the same thing with our schools. We're ranked 40th. It's the same thing with our housing. We need a leader to solve our problems.
Well, let's talk about schools and education. And you want to think about colleges in a different way.
Oh, yeah. Well, so I want to think about really high school and college in a different way. I want to combine 70% over time. We'll start smaller. But I want folks at 18 to be able to graduate debt-free with a financial education. Imagine that, a financial education, knowing how to build wealth, and a career by 18. We do that by combining vocational schools, colleges, and high schools, at least a certain percentage of them throughout California. Then, what about the people over 18 in poverty who can barely get by on minimum wage? We are going to offer $2,000 per month for folks to go to these future schools. These future schools will help us reduce poverty and then effectively reduce crime. We're spending more money on people in jails than if we just educated and invested in our Californians. We wouldn't have as much crime or poverty. People are hopeless on our streets. We have to fix that.
So how, if you become governor, you're 29 years old, you've never served in the legislature before, you've never been a part of the political system, you'd have less than a year to be the governor, assuming that goes through. How do you make all this happen, and what do you say to people that might be skeptical that you've got the skills to pull this off in terms of that very complicated bureaucracy in Sacramento?
Yeah. So the first thing that we have to realize is, yes, there's only a one-year term ahead. That's wonderful. All politicians should have a one-year trial. Now, the first thing that we're going to do when we solve homelessness or get homeless off our streets within 60 days and we start solving the crises that we have, now we're going to take that leverage and show every politician who's up for re-election in 2022, we can work together. We can actually solve real Californian problems. They're not Democratic problems. They're not Republican problems. They're Californian problems. What's my background? My background is 3,000 hours on the road in law enforcement, real estate investor, financial educator. Think about the problems that we have. I have a political science background as well. The problems we have are crime and homelessness. I dealt with this on the streets with law enforcement, and I deal with building wealth through real estate. I understand how to solve our crises in the state.
Oh, and speaking of real estate, that's your background, housing. We've got a housing crisis in this state as well. We see the price skyrocketing, which is really great for rich people that are trying to sell their homes, but it's tough for other people that want to get into the housing market. How do we fix housing in this state?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing is we're building 80,000 homes a year right now. Just to stay par, we need to be building 300,000 homes a year in the state of California. We've got plenty of places that can be redeveloped, abandoned malls, strip malls, whatever. My plan is to build 500,000 homes per year. Where? We have 482 cities. It's actually not that much. We're a big state. But we've got to get the government as much as possible out of our lives so we can streamline processes. We have 482 building and safety departments. We need one set of rules, not 482 different rules, and we need to speed up building and safety.
And how do you do that?
Yeah, through executive action. Day one, we need to have a slightly higher standard that incorporates the benefits of green energy and better sustainability. But having one standard that's the same throughout the state. Then we empower our architects and engineers, whom we're licensing anyway, and we work together with the community to solve our problems.
And real quickly to wrap up, I mean, having fun, what's this like for you as a 29-year-old traveling the state, meeting people, seeing the reaction?
Well, look, I'm doing this because I'm passionate about solving our problems in California. It's a lot of work. It's a grind. I love it, though. I love it because I want to give back. In my opinion, I've already succeeded financially. I'm not, unlike other politicians, getting into government to try to make money. I could retire right now. What I want is to give back and to serve.
Well, we all have now met Kevin Paffrath. Thank you so much for coming in, and thank you for coming in person, too.
Thank you so much. Anytime.
When we come back, the extreme heat, 7-day forecast after this.